Today, I'm going to do a quick review of some national numbers for the real estate market, looking at some charts from Altos Research. Here we are on April 3rd, 2023, the beginning of the second quarter, which is historically the busiest quarter for the real estate market in most parts of the country. I'll be looking at the current data and some historical data to give you a sense of where things might be headed for Q2. So let's dive right in. All right, we'll start with the national numbers for active inventory right now, and we'll look at some past activity as well. All right, so let's start by taking a look at active inventory, since that's certainly been the driver of the real estate market for quite a while now. Starting out with 2019, there were 836,000 active homes on the market. This week, 413. So let's call that a 50% decrease, roughly. Now, if we go back to the pre-pandemic numbers for the spring market, so I'm going to look at April, May, and June. Pre-pandemic, we've got 2017, 2018, and 2019 numbers. As you can see, they generally trend up in the springtime. Then we'll look at 2020. So this was from just the beginning of COVID. Sorry, my line's not so great there. And you can see that inventory actually started to move down. Then 2021, things were relatively flat. And 2022, we were back to the uphill in the spring, to the uptick in the spring, and you can see the numbers were a little bit steeper. And so here's where we are. As you can see, things have been pretty flat for the past few weeks, and so it'll be interesting to see where things go. Inventory seems quite constrained. Sellers are sort of sitting back. They've got that lock-in situation where interest rates, most of them have refinanced if they have a mortgage, and interest rates are low, so they're hesitant to sell unless there's something really pressing that's driving them to move. If you're a bit of a real estate nerd like me, and you'd like access to the most current stats for what's happening in our local real estate market, or any zip code in the country for that matter, then you'll want to click on the link below and get access to my Altos Research portal. Altos is used by agents, brokers, and investors all over the country to keep their fingers on the pulse of the real estate market. And you can have access to the very same data for yourself. As you all know, one of the big drivers of the real estate market last year was the run-up in interest rates. So here's a chart that shows where rates started at the beginning of the year, just a little over 3.29, and they peaked out at the end of October at 7.37. So I'll put this chart up every once in a while as I'm talking about what was happening during 2022. All right, now we can move on to the second slide, which is the percentage of properties that had price reductions. Again, this is for single family homes nationwide, courtesy of Altos Research. So we'll start by looking at the pre-pandemic years of 2018 and 2019, looking at the second quarter. So we've got April, May, and June. As you can see, they started out, they would generally trend up seasonally. And if you think about the fact that inventory was trending up too, as we saw in the last chart, that makes sense that there would be more price reductions. Then you look at 2020, and you can see that it trended down a little bit. 2021, was relatively flat. Sorry, I can't. My drawing's not that good, but I'm giving it a whirl. And then 2022 you can see that it turned back to the normal seasonal, but that the line was actually at a slightly steeper slope than in the pre-pandemic years. And here we are at 30.5%, which is the highest for this time frame in all of these years. But another thing to keep in mind is that if you look back to the end of 2022, how much higher price reductions were. Back at the end of 2022, they were very close to 40%. So they've moved down to 30, and the spread between this year and the prior years is not as big as it was the end of last year. What price reductions really are is they're sort of a preliminary indicator of where the market may be headed. If sellers feel like they need to move quickly because they perceive and their agents perceive that the market is softening, then they're going to reduce their price more quickly. If the market is strong, then sellers tend to hold the line and wait a little bit longer, or they don't need to reduce prices because houses are getting absorbed quickly. And one of the charts we'll look at next, or I think it's the fourth chart, is one that shows the number of listings that are selling immediately when they go on the market. Would you like to get a copy of the most recent free home buyers and home sellers guides? They're chock full of great information that'll help you to avoid some of the most common mistakes that home buyers and home sellers make. If you click on the links below, you can download your free copy pronto. All right, next up is the chart that shows median list prices for single-family homes in the US. So let's take a look. So what you have here is you have median list price is the dark red line, and the median price for new listings is the light red line. Couple of things to notice here. First, you can see that prices are up since the beginning of the year. Second thing is each year has its peak in terms of prices. Generally, that peak is, sometime in the spring or early summer, depending. And the other thing is, if you look historically at the increase in prices in the spring, it's pretty consistent, and you can see in 21 that it was a steeper rise. In 22, it was even a little steeper and longer. And then if you look now, you can see that it's sort of back to the slope that you saw in 18 and 19. So numbers are down year over year because this pitch is lower than that pitch. But numbers are still up from the beginning of the year to now. So you'll see stuff in the press saying that, prices are going down. And indeed, they're not going up as much as they were, but month over month, you're still seeing increases. It's just that the numbers are smaller, which makes sense because if you look at the historic run-up that we had last year, what we're doing is we're returning to a bit more normalcy. All right, so now we're going to look at a chart that goes through week by week and shows the amount of new inventory that's coming on the market nationwide. And again, this is for single-family residential listings. Here we go. So as you can see, this chart goes through, and it's broken out into two parts. So the total bar is the total number of new listings that came on the market in that given week. So you can see last week there were 66,000 new listings and 16,000 that were what they call immediate sales, which means I think they do it as 7 days or less, maybe 5 days or less. But basically, 25% of the listings that came on the market went under contract immediately. If you look back to last year, there were 82,000 listings that came on the market the same week last year. Can't quite tell from the graph exactly sort of where this point was over here, but it looks like it was right around 60. So you've got about 30%, 25 or 30% that went under contract last year. So the numbers are pretty close. What this tells us is that we have a supply constrained market, and a lot of sellers are sitting on those 3% mortgages, not really wanting to budge. If somebody's selling their house now, it's because they have a life change that is sort of compelling for them. And buyers are focused and in the market. Rates have moved down a bit recently, so that is prompting buyers to pay attention and to see, what's going on. And if they see something good, they're going to move quickly. I had some clients who wrote an offer on a house a couple days ago, and there were 5 offers, and the house ended up going for well above the asking price. So if you have any questions about what's happening in your local market, happy to help. My contact information is below. And if you're interested in seeing my most recent video, you can click over here. And if you'd like to subscribe to my channel so that you're updated whenever new videos come out, you can click over there. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.